Hello and welcome to another episode of a weekly Waypoint where I am celebrating 4 years of talking to myself. 4 days from now, but that doesn't fit into a weekly Waypoint, so I'm doing it now. I'm doing it by playing some RC Revenge, which has been on this show before, so this is the Silver Championship. Last time I did some races from the Bronze Championship, but annoyingly not all of them because I guess weekly Waypoints used to be like 5 minutes shorter. They've slowly crept up over the years and I haven't noticed. But yeah, I started what was then called the Weekly Deathmatch on the 28th of April 2018, and you are watching this, I lied, on the 25th of April 2022, so it was actually 3 days from now. Forgot to adjust for the fact that I record these a day before I put them out. I don't really have anything to say about the occasion other than if I was going by views I should probably have stopped doing this long ago, but I think I might put this on the what's it called, the small YouTubers subreddit, and if you're watching this from there, hi, this is a show I do every week. In it I talk about the games I've been playing, the shows I've been watching. It's just a kind of general catch-up week about what I've been doing. Might be kind of weird to lead with that before I show you my other content, considering the fact that you don't know who I am yet, but fuck it. Lately I've taken to doing old PlayStation 1 racing games on here to kind of show off the racing games I grew up with, because as it turns out, I grew up with quite a lot of racing games. Like, this has been on the show before, but there are still so many racing games I could put on here which would be unique and haven't appeared on here before. I was going to do Gran Turismo too, but I forgot you have to do all the fucking license tests, so I kind of backed out of that one pretty quickly. Today's video is actually going to be in Fortnite because I wanted to show off all the different mini games, which is something I'm going to get into in a minute, that people make. But my god, turns out it is not really easy to record mini games in Fortnite for this. Like, how do I put it? It's like, I felt like when I was playing a bit of parkour it would probably be boring to watch, so then I moved over to some laser tag, which was a lot of fun, but that was like a game mode that's like 2 weeks old, so no one's playing it anymore. So then I moved over to snipers versus climbers, and climbing was fun but sniping was abysmal, and I was just like, this isn't working, I'm gonna go record a PlayStation 1 racing game. Let's talk about that though. As you may know if you've been watching the last few weeks, I've been getting into Fortnite lately since they added the no building mode, but I also discovered this week the mini games that are player made and player generated, which weren't in there last time I was playing, but way back in chapter 1 season 4, and I guess I kind of knew they were there, but I didn't know they gave XP like the same way just playing Fortnite regularly does for like your battle pass to unlock stuff. So I kind of wrote it off as like, yeah, it might be an interesting diversion at some point, but you know, I want to progress through this battle pass before it runs out, so it would kind of feel like a waste of time in a weird, stupid way. But no, as it turns out, those Fortnite minigames, at least I guess verified ones, they give XP, and sometimes they give a lot of XP, so that's nice to know. So me, Reese and Molly have been exploring those, doing some parkour, doing some like, you know, racing around in a car, trying to run people over, doing some like I said, the laser tag, like doing a whole bunch of things. And it's actually been a grand old time. It reminds me of Roblox back in the day, and I'm fully aware that Roblox is still going and is arguably way more popular than it ever was back in the day. But when I was like 12 or 13, I used to play Roblox, and these custom-made mini-games feel like what those do. They have a lot of the same tropes, like if you play on the server long enough you can like earn coins to buy flares and stuff, you know, like that was all in the Roblox game modes and probably still is. I have no idea what Roblox looks like today though. To be honest, I'm not really chomping at a bit to jump back into Roblox. Who knows, it's on Xbox, maybe I'll get curious one day and give it a try, see if it's got achievements or something. I'm dismissing Roblox in the same way I'd be dismissing Fortnite if I wasn't currently playing it as like a kid's game, so maybe there's some value to playing it as like a just any age like there is with Fortnite, but maybe not, I don't know. I wonder if I can still get the login for my old account, oh my god. In other news, I talked a little bit last week about Borderlands 3, completely forgot that I talked last week about Borderlands 3, and just talked a whole bunch about Borderlands 3 just now, going over everything I already said last week, because guess what, I have not played a lot of Borderlands 3. For some reason it remains on the bottom of like my pile of games that I want to play, even though I really am enjoying Borderlands 3 whenever I do play it. I'm just not making time for it because of this next topic which I'm about to bring up. World of Warcraft Dragonflight got announced, holy balls. I've got a whole video about that where I talk about that, so I'm not going to cannibalize that video in this video. You can go and watch that one if you want to hear my thoughts about Dragonflight, but TLDR, I'm very excited for it. I think it looks really, really refreshing and they're saying all the right things. They just need to deliver on what they're saying. I think it has the potential to be another good expansion. I would argue that Shadowlands, for all of its flaws, is still a decent expansion, at least in my eyes, for my type of play, for what I like to do. It's not as bad as BFA, put it that way, but yeah, I'm hoping Dragonflight is at least better. Hey, if you want to know what my thoughts on Shadowlands as a whole are, I've got a whole video on that too. I've just been cranking them out this week, haven't I? But yeah, while I'm not going to go cannibalise my thoughts on the Dragonflight announcement video in this one, I am going to use it to say that I've been like doubling down on my World of Warcraft game time lately. Like I was always kind of playing it in the background the last couple of months, but lately I've been really like going hard on it. I finally unlocked flying in Zereth Mortis because after I finished the story in that zone I was like, yeah, peace out, I'm not going to bother. But now I've unlocked flying, I'm kind of doing the reputation grinds. Like, I'm not committing to go to it every day to do all the world quests and stuff, but I am going to try and focus on it because I was like, oh, what can I do? I want to do a reputation grind. I could go and unlock the Nether Rays from the frickin' what are they called in Burning Crusade? The Shatari Skyguard? Yeah, those guys. Or I could go and do a whole bunch of Corphia stuff because I'll feel quite powerful in there. Or I could go and farm a whole bunch of Paragon chest mounts from Legion, you know, stuff like that. But eventually I was like, maybe I should focus on getting the current reputation to Exalted first before I focus on too much legacy content. That being said, I am spending a lot of time farming mounts at the minute because that's something I haven't done for a while. I've been farming old raids for transmog appearances, but back in Legion and before I used to just farm them for mounts, and since then, Legion raids have become soloable, Warlords of Draenor raids are much more easily soloable and stuff like that, and it's just like, hey, maybe I should start farming these mounts now that I couldn't do before. I use a website called Simple Armory. It has a collectibles tab and it shows you like all of these empty spaces in categories of where mounts come from, and I used to use that back in Legion for older expansions, and visiting it again for the first time since Legion, it's crazy to see how exponentially more mounts are earnable in the game in the most recent expansions compared to the older ones. Now that I think about it, it might seem kind of pointless to farm mounts considering in the new expansion we're going to be using dragon riding instead of traditional flying mounts, but fuck it, who cares. At the end of the day, I go back and farm these raids for weeks and weeks and weeks for mounts that I'm never even going to use because I don't like the look of them. Because I like the collectability of it. Like, have you ever been so into collecting something in a game or even in real life where it's like you don't even want the individual things, you just want like the completion, I guess, of the category that it's in or whatever. And of course that could get very unhealthy depending on what it is, but when it's something like World of Warcraft mounts, it really just comes down to the fact that I enjoy it as an activity, like whacking a podcast on and then just running through a familiar old raid, kind of like peripherally enjoying the scenery and the story and the experience of an older story in this game, and enjoying the roll of a dice every time you finally get to the final boss. And like, it's definitely enhanced since they added transmog wardrobes and stuff like that too, because it's not just the mount you're going after. But yeah, it's a favourite activity of mine in that game. In other news, a short segue this time, regarding Elder Scrolls Online, because I did bring it up last week, I've been logging into the game every day because they've actually got a mount reward, which is very rare for them to deal with a daily login bonus, and it's fairly early on. And it's funny because I'm kind of like logging in and I'm like, oh, I want to play the game, but I'm kind of holding off until High Isle comes out because I'm going to start a new character. Well, I've already started a new character. I did the prologue quest on him. He is a Stamina Templar, for anyone wondering. A Breton, no less. Wait, is he a Breton? Shit. What did I make him? I think he's a Breton. Don't quote me on that. We'll find out together at some point. I've already forgotten about him, but I'm logging into my main Brakosh. I'm just like, I just feel like doing content in this game. But I also don't, because I don't have ESO Plus right now and I don't want to pay for 2 subscriptions at the same time. But I think that's going to pay off when High Isle finally does come out in June, because I've got a week off around then and I'm just going to be able to fucking go. I've mentioned it before, but I'm basically starting a new character for this chapter, which is new to me because I've never really done that before. I've had a do everything character, which is my main character, and I've had that for a few specific reasons regarding story continuity and characters recognizing you in certain locations and stuff like that. But I've now decided that I'm just so overpowered on that character, it's boring as hell doing story content on that character, because even though I'm gaining I almost said Paragon levels. what is it, Paragon levels? What's that system called again? Champion points, that's the one. Even though I'm gaining champion points, I'm just melting everything, and it's not fun. I think it'll be more fun to go through a new DLC with a new character, because then it'll be more like, you know, even though like it's still ESO, it's still my account with all my stuff on it. It's almost like I'm starting a new character in a new RPG, you know, or a new iteration of a familiar RPG. So yeah, because that's another thing as well, in Elder Scrolls Online, I know Sorcerer very well, I know Magicka Sorcerer very well, and I know Stamina Dragon Knight very well, because one of them was my main character on PC, and then the other was my main character on Xbox when I started over there. But I really haven't done, as much as I make thousands of ults in World of Warcraft, I really haven't made a whole lot of ults in ESO, or I have, but I've never stuck to them. So this is going to be my way of experiencing more of the classes in that game, because I can't very well ask them to add a new class without having played most of the existing classes now, can I? So changing tracks a bit, I want to give you an update on Riverdale. I'm not going to give spoilers, but I'm not going to do a full thoughts on video about it either, just because I don't really feel like it. If I continue down the path I'm going down, I might make one later on for Riverdale in general, but for anyone who's not familiar with the show, it's like a teen drama show set in a small American village. Really not my kind of speed normally, but for some reason this one grabbed me. And I watched season 1 way back in like 2017 or something. And season 1 was fairly standard, you know, person gets killed, it's a murder mystery. Again, I'm not going to give too much away about plots, but season 2 is kind of like escalation of that, but not an extreme escalation. I've heard that the show kind of goes off the rails after season 2 and people really don't like it, right? But it's still being made, so there must be a core audience who keeps watching it. I think they're on season 6 now. And I heard something crazy about what's happening in the current season, where they're going with it. And I'm just like, how did you... I mean, okay, I'll spoil it. Just be aware I'm about to spoil the thing that's apparently happening in the current season. Time travel. Apparently they're doing time travel, and I'm like, how did you get from, like, a teen drama grounded in reality to fucking time travel? And that is honestly what has brought me back to Riverdale. Season 2 was really fucking good. I have a couple of reservations. It wasn't perfect. You know, it feels like some of the character relationships were a bit too skimmed over in terms of like how they would react around each other with certain things going on. But it's fine. But I really enjoyed Season 2, and I was like, okay, time to start Season 3, because I know it apparently goes downhill from here. Season 3... I'm 2 episodes in and it's already gone off the rails. The entire cast of like the adults have a scene at the end of episode 2 where they're all kind of talking to each other, and like one of the villains reveals one of his main secrets, but it's not even a revelation. It's like it doesn't matter anymore because they're talking about something more serious, and it's like, oh god, this isn't good, is it? It's veered hard right into like supernatural territory, and I'm like, is this a Saints Row situation where it started out as something grounded in reality and just ended up being fucking more nutty with every passing iteration? But I like these characters too much, and I'm still too curious to know how they end up at time travel, so I think I'm gonna stick with it for the time being. I'll let you know how much crazier shit gets. I mean, there's also the chance it's actually not supernatural and there's some Scooby-Doo level people just messing with each other stuff going on, but they heavily implied that at the end of episode 2 that I just watched, that yes, it is supernatural. And given that I know that they do time travel later on, it would not surprise me. Anyway, since this is like the whole 4 years episode of a weekly Waypoint, I wanted to end this episode with something a little bit more different. Sometimes I get people on my channel and they're like, whoa, with like the you know, the weekly uploads and the thumbnails and everything, I would have expected you to have like loads of viewers or whatever. And they seem surprised that, like, why would you make videos when you've got no viewers? So I thought I'd go into that a little bit. Part of it is I've never really made a concerted effort to actually get my channel out there, and YouTube is such a fucking battleground of like thousands and thousands and thousands of channels my size churning out content to audiences which really don't care about smaller channels. Like, I don't watch any smaller channels, really. Like, the smallest channel I watch, I can't even think of it, but it's at least got thousands of views per video, you know? So I don't really know how you're supposed to succeed on YouTube. I think it's probably a bit of a lottery. I'm not saying I've got the best content in the world, but I think it's watchable. Although, yes, I do still need a new microphone. But whenever I talk about why I still do it, I always mention that it's something that's fulfilling for me personally. I really enjoy making these videos. It's a really good creative outlet for me, and that is still 100% true. and always has been. But I used to make videos when I was like 12 or 13. I had a channel which I actually retrofitted into my live stream channel, and I used to do it for the same reasons I do now as a hobby, but eventually I fell off of doing it. I tried vlogging during my A-levels and I didn't really enjoy doing that too much, so I kind of stopped then, and then during university I completely stopped, and for a few years I did not touch this. But the thing that motivated me to come back, not to get morbid, was actually the death of my nan. And that might sound a little bit weird, I know, but stick with me. I was thinking about this a couple of nights ago, when I should have been going to sleep, but my brain was like, hey, how about we just, you know, turn this pebble of thought over in our heads constantly for like an hour before we can go to sleep. Sure, everyone gets that, I'm sure. And I was just reminded of when I started making YouTube videos again. It wasn't 4 years ago, it wasn't when I started the weekly Waypoint, then the weekly deathmatch. It was when I started making a series of videos called The Daily Rogue. It was, I just kind of graduated uni. And I was a little bit burnt out on writing, because that's what I went to uni to do creative writing, and to be honest I still haven't really used it. So I was in a place where I was a little bit burnt out on creating in general, right? And then my nan dies and we go to her funeral, and my uncle delivers a brilliant eulogy where I learned basically a whole bunch of things I never knew about my nan. And it's not really like a direct A to B. It wasn't like, you know, she wasn't a YouTuber for one thing, but it wasn't like she was like a creator of, like, you know, she wasn't a writer or anything like that. My uncle's a writer, but she's not. It wasn't anything like that. It was just like learning about her life. I don't know what it did, but it triggered something in me, something positive that made me go like, I wanna start making stuff that I enjoy making again. You know, like up until that point I just spent my free time, and there's nothing wrong with this, by the way, but I just spent my free time consuming content, and I wanted to get back into creating content. And by the way, some people don't like the phrase creating content. They think it sounds too business-like. I mean it in like a positive way. I just don't know a more concise way of saying making videos on YouTube of video games, you know? Like, I just call it creating content. But ever since then, creating content, making these videos has really felt like my pushback against the void, for want of a better term. I know that was a little bit overly poetic, but you know what I mean, right? It's like I'm fighting back against the constant passage of time and the erosion of like life as time goes on and stuff like that, by making something and putting something of myself out into the world. And it's fun. I love doing it. It's fulfilling for me whenever I make one of these videos and publish it and everything. I can't explain it. It's not like I'm like, wow, instant mood lift or anything like that, but it's just something that consistently makes me happy. And I don't know, I just felt like sharing that, because I'm always saying stuff like, oh, you know, I just make these videos because they make me happy. And you might look at like, well, you get 2 to 3 views per video, like how happy does it make you? But it's really like a personal exercise for me. But I would highly recommend it if you I don't know, if that triggers anything within you to make you feel the same way. Highly recommend it. Anyway, that's all for now. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you on the next video.